Hey, good evening, Galleon. This is Mayor Tom O'Leary coming to you on what seems like the Monday before council meeting. So um, appreciate you all being here. I know there's some stiff competition. The Republicans are in session, so like I made a joke last week about it. So everybody who is way into that, they're probably not here anyways. And then a, perhaps in an odd way of greater consequence, the Indians and the Twins are playing. So I will jump right into a couple items, see if we have some questions, and then instead of trying to compete in any way. The first thing that I wanted to talk about is not Tuesday night, but Wednesday afternoon at 4 o'clock, and that's the scheduled time for a Board of Zoning Appeals meeting. As I understand, it'll be held at the St. Joseph's Activity Center, which is right over there from where we're live streaming tonight. And what will be discussed are a set of variances requested by the developer of the Carter Crossing apartments. So that will, I really believe that they're asking for variances as you move towards Arby's, very much or exactly like, from what we can tell, as the variances that were approved to the two apartment buildings coming to completion there on the west end of that property. And then there's a fifth unit, if you will, that sets behind the commercial building, behind East of Chicago, Goodwill, and they'll be asking for similar variances on that. So I suspect that the arguments that were made at the hearing where the BZA originally approved the variances, those same concerns will be raised again by neighbors or other folks in the community. I actually have to say I feel much better, and while I have nothing other than the pride of being mayor when it's built, there's a sort of sense of, hey, those are nice apartments. And so throughout the community, different people have commented to me that, quite honestly, one property owner in the community had commented to one of the city officials that those are really nice apartments, and that was kind of considered as a show of support, in that this guy was one of the most outspoken. And candidly, he's one of the people in town that has a lot of money invested in other rental properties. So his initial concerns, I think, let's hope they've been set aside. Now that I've said that, he'll probably show up, and we'll both maybe not laugh, but hopefully he's got something going on Wednesday night. But anyways, this is an issue that affects a lot of people in the Timberlane subdivision, and it really is just the continuation of what they said they would do when they made their original request. Before I leave the topic, I think it's it's not absolute proof, but it's an early indicator about the market readiness and the fact that there is a need, was a need, and is a need for apartments like this, considering the rate at which they're renting them. So I think that's a real positive, and so we won't dwell on it, but it's easy to pick out things that are not quite right. This is something that started off going in the right direction for the everyone involved, from what I can see. The neighbors perhaps being the exception of the folks that feel like this is a step forward. So anyways, Wednesday night, 4 o'clock, Activity Center. I'm sure there'll be a crowd of neighbors with some questions, and certainly the room over there is adequate, so we can accommodate social distancing and hopefully have an orderly and productive meeting. Speaking of meetings, tomorrow night's council meeting has what I consider a light but important agenda. One of the issues that's up for discussion, I believe it's the second reading. Is that right, Matt? Second reading is on an ordinance to change the local ordinance on the length of a cul-de-sac. We currently have that, no, you can't have a cul-de-sac any more than 600 feet. So it's a couple hundred yards. There have been some instances where that's not necessarily been followed, and so we've got some streets out there that are longer than that. We want to try to bring it into compliance. It was held to a first reading so that people who wanted to argue the logic of having a limitation on the length of a cul-de-sac could make their feelings known and their logic explained. So I expect that to get a second reading tomorrow night, and no particular specific rush. So if I had to guess, I'd guess that would go 3 readings and be approved after that. The other ordinance, probably the one that is the more people are interested in. I would say concern's not the right word, but we'll move ahead on a request to council to approve just shy of $400,000. The estimate for the roads that we're including in this $400,000 cap on paving, we're really in and around 350, 355. So what we've done with this ordinance is ask council to give us a little bit of a cushion, so that if the bids come in over that estimate, that we don't have a situation where we have the funds, but we don't have enough council authority to do that, or to do all the streets that have been bid. So it's difficult. I can tell you I know the most expensive one, and people over on Edward Street, or who use Edward Street to come and go from work, they can say it's not about time. It's way past about time. But Edwards will be overlaid, be resurfaced, really from the East Street Sherman area all the way up, as I would say, around the corner to the east and down to Cummings Road. So we're trying to rebuild that. And if you haven't been out there on it, do yourself a favor and don't just go out to look around. It's in pretty rough shape, and we've recognized that. And I made a joke, seems like a month ago, about Edward Street. And after I said it, I didn't think much about it. And after I said it, I thought, well, that's not very funny. So I went out about Edward Street not getting paved, and heck, freezing over. So I went out there and looked at it. It's not a laughing matter, and so we're going to take care of that. I can remember a couple of other streets, just to Grand and Grant, which Grand has been like one of the projects that almost got paved the last several years. It's finally scheduled for a milling because it's real uneven. Those people, kind of in the that use Boyd and Clymer. I guess I use it a lot, so I notice it. But Grand, all the way up from Clymer to Boston, certainly needs to be done. The worst part of Grove Avenue, I think, is on the list, or what I call the worst part, and that's really from Orange to the end. Those 2 streets in that same part of the 4th Ward come to mind. Grant, it's a short cut across for a lot of people in the north end of town, and that has gotten pretty rough, and certainly, it's goofy to say waited its turn, but the road hasn't, but the neighbors have waited. So every time you do this, you make some neighborhoods and some street people on certain streets happy, and other people not so happy. I think the last one that I can recall, and then if there's some other ones people can ask about, is Market Street. It's in rough shape, and it became particularly apparent to me when Polk Township paved their section of it. I believe it was last year. I'd hate to think it was 2 years ago, but it could have been last year, and it just made it's not like I don't have to tell anybody, they all know this. Market's not pothole filled, but it's especially rough surface, and our goal is to try to level out that surface and get a level platform or whatever to overlay out there. So from the township line back in, I think we're going to stop at Hetrick, but you know, I gotta be honest, I'm not 100% sure on that. So that's overall what's going on. Just one more thing on paving. I guess it's on my mind. It's that time of year. It's getting kind of towards the end of the season. We're hopeful that the county is going to pave Winchester Road, New Winchester Road, excuse me. And the part that's in the city, so think from the Bucyrus Road Y intersection out to Biddle Road, that section, I think people who use that would say that's pretty rough, and that will be included in the project that the county's going to do. So we had Gelson-Leiter and Winchester as two projects we were going to partner on. Gelson-Leiter sort of wasn't as bad from the county's point of view, so that'll wait another year. But we will be out there. Those people in the what you might call Old Wrenchville School area their help's on the way on that one, and so that's our paving program. Someday, maybe 5 or 6 years from now, we can get to a point where we're paving longer segments of key arteries, but for the time being, we're kind of 1 block at a time or 2 blocks at a time. But I do think we're making some headway there, and so that's all I got on streets. That's tomorrow night. That's the council meeting. I may go on just to drive council members crazy when it comes to the mayor's report. So I won't do that to you tonight. But there are some things that we need to talk about. Some questions on some construction projects that we're just wrapping up, that I think we may have to field or get to field, whatever the right word is, some questions from council about those. So anyway, I'm not sure if there are any questions. Let's do that and then see where we're at.
Yes, we have a few tonight, Mayor, and I want to start with a question from Travis, which is actually related to street paving.
Okay.
He asked, is Carter Drive scheduled to be repaired after the new apartment construction is complete?
No, but next year it's really a good idea. I think it's it's when I'm out there, there are cracks that we'll have to take a look and see if those can be sealed and avoid new pavement. But yeah, it gets a lot of traffic, and even though it's seasonal, if you will, school year traffic, it's pretty busy nearly every day of the year. But it's not on the list, Travis.
Okay. And first question tonight came from William, something a little bit lighthearted here. So he asked, if you had your choice of your favorite tacos or favorite pizza in the world, which would you pick?
Oh, man. We do great tacos at home. So William, I'll come on over sometime at home. We're using salmon meat, and so Mindy and Russ supplying the meat for the tacos, and I think we can scare up some local veggies out of Daniel Neff's garden patch. So I plan to see, and then to answer the question more seriously, when I get really hungry for pizza, I've got a helper. It says don't answer anything. I will answer William quickly, and then we'll go to the next question. Once upon a time, in 1992, for the kids in the audience, I agreed to be a judge in a beauty pageant in Attica, the Little Miss Attica Fair contest. Big mistake, because there were like 9 or 10 little girls and only one winner. So if I mention all of my favorite pizza places, then I can do nothing except ignite a Twitter storm or something like that. But anyways, a couple really great places in town, and that's all I'll say. Sorry, William. Nice try, sucker.
All right, thanks, Mayor. Next question we had tonight came from Chris. He asked, is the new hotel still for sale? And if so, how much are they asking for it?
Yeah, yes, from what I understand, and I really don't know what I think they're probably either the current owner, or as it may have to move through, so the bank has a more active role. It's probably what the mortgage holder thinks is a fair value. I've, like everyone else, I've seen this stuff either on social media. I always look over my wife's shoulder on that, but I've seen postings for jobs and had a conversation, it's been a week or two ago, with the current owner. His intention is to open it up. Unlike a lot of other people in town, I can't wait for it to be open. And so that's kind of, Chris, not really an answer to your question, but I expect it to be reopened under the current ownership, and then unless things would change dramatically, I expect it to kind of continue through that court process that is going on. So it's a crappy question. I wish I had a better answer, but I want to reinforce the fact that it's opening up again, or really trying to open up again, is the most important thing. For me as mayor, looking out for your interest in those things, it's kind of a mixed issue. But for a local resident who's got relatives coming in or has utilized it, I think it's nothing but good for Galleon. When the place was open, it was nothing but good for Galleon. And I think, but for the COVID, which knocked the heck out of restaurants and hotels all over the place, they'd still be operating. Maybe some people would say limping along, but I really think that the COVID has been particularly difficult on that hospitality industry and this sleeping specifically.
Okay, thanks, Mayor. Next question tonight came from Adam. He asked, if and when Clymer Avenue is repaved, can we get curbs added to help with standing water and cars not parking in the grass?
Yeah. I know. I think I know what you're talking about. Is that on the? It's maybe up and down the whole thing on Clymer. Yeah, I think definitely from Grove south, there's not much curbing between there and Grand. So I'm not sure if he's talking about that section or the section from Cherry over to Hardingway. There's not much curb there. So I hadn't thought of it, and it's not on the list, so we have time to plan it. But I don't know what I don't want to mislead him. We're overlaying, we're milling off and overlaying. We haven't done a paving job with new curb since I've been here. Maybe that's a glaring fault, but I need the name. I'm sorry.
Adam.
Adam. Adam. When you look at that, I'll give you an example. If you want to do just a little bit of library work or internet work, Bucyrus. I don't want to get into how they fund their streets. It's a pretty neat setup, but Bucyrus tends to, with the kind of program I was describing, rebuild their curbs and do a lot with their stormwater. And that's a kind of a preferred method, but it eats up a lot of their pavement money. Another thing about that's different here is west of here in Bucyrus, they have a lot more of what's called combined sewers, so the stormwater runs into the sanitary water. And so when they're rebuilding, when they're resurfacing, they're rebuilding from curb to curb. But it's a really good practice, but it's probably, I don't know, I'll talk to council about it. What you'd end up with is using a lot of the stormwater money to do that and probably paving fewer streets. But that is a different way it's done. We haven't really done that in Galleon that way. But if he can let us know which of those catch basins are backing up, I need some help on that. If it's at the bottom of Boyd and Grand where Clymer comes together, that's a low spot. We may just need to engineer that, but curbs, I don't know.
Adam did mention
Yeah.
he was referring to the section of Clymer between Grove and Harding Way.
But I think I know what he means, but that would be Grove, I got it. Grove and Harding Way are the intersect. On Clymer, between
Correct.
Grove, yeah. We'll talk, have him draw me a picture.
Okay, ready for the next
But it's
question?
right there at Grove and Harding Way, that's where it's at?
Yes.
We'll go look. Thanks, though.
Okay, next question tonight came from Heath. He asked, are bikes and leash dogs permitted on the walking path?
Yeah, I think, yeah, it is a bike path, so it's funny, it'll be the longest name. Yes, is the short answer. I think it's, I'm enjoying it as much as the next person, and it is open for public to use. It's the fence is up in the parking lots the other end. We took the snow fence down. It doesn't need an official ribbon cutting to open it up, so it's open. We're working on some signage. The things that will be prohibited are unauthorized motorized vehicles, so mopeds, golf carts, all of that kind of stuff. Motorcycles. And dogs on leashes, absolutely. Preferably with the 21st century equipment, which includes a plastic bag. But, yep. Walking, biking. There's 10 feet of pavement. Again, I started to say we've been out there enough. Walking it, and I think that's been one of the fun parts about it. You've got people with strollers, walking fast or jogging, and sometimes with a dog, which I would call a family of 4. And then you've got, all ages of people out there. So yeah, it hasn't been a problem yet. We're going to have to make sure, though, that we don't have people back there in motorized vehicles. Probably be the only prohibition that I can think of. Well, that and unleashed dogs, but anyway, that's all I got.
Okay, and those were all the questions I have as of right now.
Okay, well, they're tune in tomorrow night, Wednesday. If you can come up here, I don't believe there's going to be any sort of Zoom meeting. Help me on Wednesday. Is that Zoomed?
Not that I'm aware of.
Yeah, that would be the BZA meeting that affects the zoning variances for the next 3 sets of Carter Crossing apartments. So I think all that's good. And for the record, for those people who watch other city councils, for the record, I think these apartments are really nice. So there are some people at a meeting last week in Bucyrus that got passed around pictures of these apartments and we're talking them down. I thought, well, whatever it works, but we're proud of them here in Galion, and we hope that public continues to support that project, and we'll see it all the way through to the 96 unit completion. Other than that, be safe, and we'll talk to you tomorrow night. Good night.